Hello, welcome all to our new video on Helm. This is basically the part 5 on Helm charts in Kubernetes. So if you have not watched our previous video, I will highly suggest you to go through them before going through this video. All right, so that being said, let's start with our new video. In this, we are going to discuss about customizing Helm charts. Now, remember one thing that we are discussing about the theory aspect of Helm first to understand the Helm capabilities. And after we have covered the theory, we are going to be starting with the practical aspect. So if you are seeing this at a later point in time, if you are more interested in practicals, so you can look for our later videos. But in this, we are first going to understand from a theoretical perspective so that we have better understanding about the practical aspect when we are doing the hands-on session on Helm. All right, so that being said, let's start. Now, customizing the Helm charts. So why this is required? Because this is going to allow you, enable you to do pre-built charts and customize them according to your requirement. So what you can do is you can create a chart for your application. Then you don't have to rewrite the YAML configurations again and again. You can use the Helm and basically do at the runtime. So it's going to deploy depending upon what you pass in the commands, and then Helm can install do the deployments of your application. Now, Helm charts are templated using the Go programming language, which we have already discussed, and they allow you to customize the chart by using the values templates and adding the new templates, right? So you can actually revise the template versions and introduce more parameters in those templates as well. Now, let's go ahead and explore more about this modifying the chart properties. So charts can be customized by modifying their properties. And how will you going to modify those properties? By using the --z flag. So that way you can override the values which you have specified already inside the values.yaml file. For example, you can see the below example in which we are installing a MariaDB. And we are basically setting up the root user password and the root user password, which we have set to a secret, and replication password, which is set to my password. Now, the above command is going to set your root password for your MariaDB and instance, and for the secret and the replication password as well. Right. So what we are doing, we are basically using --set in this command line. Okay, basically through this we are overriding the values of root user password as well as replication password, right? So this is how you can override the default values which are already there in the values.yaml file. Okay, now how are we going to use the variables? Now, variables plays a very important role because this is how it allows you to write the dynamic configuration. We want to write a dynamic configuration because we don't want to stuck into a phase where we are rewriting each YAML file again and again for each application, which is going to be redundant work and it consumes a lot of time, right? So you can customize your Helm charts using the variables which you mentioned inside the templates. We already saw one example where we have specified the values inside the values.yaml file using our replica count image tag and the container ports, right? So these values were called inside the templates, and then at the runtime Helm replaces that, right? So if you have not gone through that video, I will suggest you to go through that video for more understanding about the same. And we have included here as well, so you can see that these values are getting used inside my deployment, right? So here you can see there is a replica count. So this replica count value will be set to 1. And similarly, your repository, which we have specified here, this repository will be changed to Nginx table, and similarly container port will be replaced by 80. Now, this is the advantage where you are writing the templates and replacing the values using the values.yaml file, and those values will be propagated, and Helm is going to install this application. Okay, now Helm actually allows you to use the conditional statements as well. Like you can put if condition, right, and do something, and then and the if loop like that, right? So using the conditional statements in Helm chart allows you to make the Helm more flexible, and you can put the conditions to manage your Kubernetes manifest templates. Now, Helm is going to execute this if-else statement, just like you do in the programming languages for loops, and then send the result configuration into your manifest Kubernetes. For example, suppose if I want to add a conditional statement inside a Kubernetes manifest file to conditionally expose a container port depending upon the chart value. So I can write my configuration like this. If you see here, this is a basic service definition. We are defining our service, specifying the labels. Now, here the important thing is this specification. Now, here we are saying that if type is node port and ports. So we are using an if statement here saying values of export port is port 80, protocol is TCP, and target port is 8080, right? So and we are ending this, right? So if you see, we are simply saying that if the values for our expose port, okay, is set, then specify these values, okay. Otherwise, don't specify this, right? So these values will get propagated only when the expose port values have been defined inside the values.yaml file, like that, right? So that is how if conditions work. So you can actually use if else and like that, and you can modify the port. This is just one example. You can use if and else statement according to your own requirement as well. So if we are exposing our port externally, then propagate these values, otherwise don't. Okay. Now, you can actually use the multiple value files. What this means is you can have more than one values.yaml file. So suppose if you are working in a complex environment where you are having multiple configurations for each environment, instead of having a separate chart directories, right? Like suppose if you are having dev environment, test environment, prod environment, stage environment, like that. So one of the ways could be that I create a separate directory for my chart for each environment, and then put the specific configuration, specify different values.yaml file, and then deploy them, right? Obviously, this is the what we would have use on based on our current understanding of the Helm. But Helm allows you to, instead of creating multiple directories and then creating multiple values.yaml file inside those directories and managing it, which will increase your administration work. Instead of doing that, the better way of doing is like you can create the values.yaml file depending upon your environment, and then include those environment file depending upon your environment name, and this is how you can deploy it. So what you need to do is you can include these store in the configuration inside, like you, instead of creating the values.yaml file, you can create it specifically for your environment, like prod.yaml, dev.yaml, like that. By using multiple values file, you would be able to reuse your single chart across your multiple environments. Okay, and which is going to avoid the need for creating the separate chart for each environment. Now you can combine these files using --values flag and installing the chart. So here is an example. Like suppose if we are installing this my release from my chart, right? Then we are passing the values inside the using the prod.yaml, and we are navigating the values through value secret. So it will fetch this from this YAML file, right? Now, since we pass this values, right? Values is values-prod.yaml. So what is going to happen is it will fetch the values according to my prod environment variable, right? If I was deploying this in dev, so I could have set values.dev.yaml like this, right? So it would actually fetch from my dev environment. Now, the advantage is that both are different environments, so they will be having different configuration endpoints, images, like that. So might be using different values for it. If I'm doing that, then I can specify like this and manage the multiple configurations, so that I don't have to create a separate chart for different environments, right? Within the same chart can be used across your multiple environment. This is what it means by multiple values file, and this is a better practice way. You can say this is a good practice that you can follow. Okay, so this is going to reduce the redundancy as well, right? So if we look at managing the or customizing the Helm charts, there are multiple ways: by modifying your values.yaml file, modifying your charts.properties, using the variables inside the templates, including your conditional loops, within the templates. So we have seen all of these 4 different working ways through which we are able to customize the charts and manage our application across the multiple environments, right? So this is all for this video. Okay, so if you have some doubts, you can leave out it in the comments. If you have not subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel. This is all for this video. I will see you in my next video. Till then, keep watching. Thank you.